What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Three Pyramids Network with your host Randy Anderson. Man, today we are checking out um Chris King TV. Basically he's gonna be talking about the music industry and how big changes have just come up. So I had seen this on my For You page, and I was just like, "Yo, I'm in the AI music and stuff like that, and other things of that nature. But this is still something that's in my wheelhouse, so I would like to know."
Multi-year deal with superfan platform Even.
Seeing them in bed with these people damn near turns my stomach. Damian D. Washington has filed an explosive federal lawsuit against Even Labs. What was the last numbers on your project that you did release with them? I went to go check it,
What
and
is
all my
Even
fucking data
Labs?
was gone.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
All my data was gone.
Curtis DIY.
DIYers, not sure if you heard the news, but Even made the announcement. The platform that, for many of us, we knew as an independent alternative to the traditional music industry model, Even being the direct-to-consumer platform that you saw popularized through a lot of independent artists, a lot of former signed artists, more recently through a J. Cole campaign, and obviously through LaRussell, who has equity within said company. They made what would otherwise be, I guess, some exciting news before people started to scratch their heads, myself included, about who's actually involved in this. It says here on the Even official Twitter page, today we announced a multi-year agreement with UMG to provide direct-to-fan infrastructure for their labels and artists worldwide. So this is
why,
Even
though?
providing a service for Universal Music Group. So it's being presented as, and we're going to read the full article, UMG has now become a client of Even in the direct-to-consumer services. From developing artists to acting to acts debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200, we're building for the full spectrum. We're just getting started. Hey, yo, DIYer, if you're enjoying this content, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps this video and this channel get discovered by new people. I appreciate
The
you.
link
Now
for
back to
his
the
video will be in the link in
For
the
many of
description
you
below.
that have seen how
Like
critical
usual.
we've been of the way that UMG has been maneuvering and trying to buy up, and we're going to go through all of this shit. How many websites, how many companies, how many third-party websites that UMG has been aggressively either buying out and acquiring, or how many of them they've been partnering that have serviced independent artists exclusively, to the point where it's going to be very difficult to call yourself an independent artist when UMG is in your pockets. We'll talk about that. It's interesting though. So it says Universal Music strikes deal with superfan platform Even to power direct-to-consumer sales for artists worldwide. It says Universal Music Group has struck a multi-year agreement with Even, a superfan-focused platform that lets artists sell music and engage with fans directly. Make sure this is centered. It says the deal establishes Even as a direct-to-fan resource for UMG, who UMG is large enough to have their own department. I think they've done some things. We've done a story where DeMizza predicted that this is going to happen about a year ago, but they have all the resources to do it. My interest is what is their interest in an Even. Providing the major labels and artists with turnkey tools for engaging superfans through early access to music, exclusive content, and community features. The agreement will also allow UMG artists to offer physical music and merchandise through Even using UMG's global direct-to-consumer vinyl and merch infrastructures.
But why, if you were an independent artist, would you want this? Is my question. Because you don't want to be in their pockets, but they want to be in your pockets. I don't know.
For those who don't know, artists that were signed to UMG, it was not in their terms to allow them to use a service like Even to go direct to consumer, because that would be in violation of the type of deal that they signed. So this multi-year deal will give those artists that are signed to a UMG or a UMG label the opportunity to take advantage of those Even services that were predominantly, if not exclusively, for independent artists at one point in time. It says the partnership marks the latest expansion of UMG's direct-to-consumer and broader superfan strategy. The deal with Even arrives just weeks after the major music company, UMG, acquired a minority stake in superfan app Stationhead, and follows Chairman Sir Lucian Grange's annual memo to staff in which he identified superfan monetization as a strategic priority for 2026. DeMizza, who, like I said, he predicted this about a year ago, this is what he had to say about the matter.
As the major labels return to the physical world, Universal Music Group has struck a new multi-year deal with superfan platform Even, a direct-to-consumer tool that lets artists sell music, merchandise, and exclusive content straight to fans. The partnership positions Even as a turnkey D2C resource across UMG's global label system, giving artists tools for early access drops, fan communities, exclusive releases, and physical product sales powered by UMG's existing vinyl and merch infrastructure. The move is the latest expansion of UMG's broader superfan strategy, arriving just weeks after its investment in social audio platform Stationhead and following Lucian Grange's internal memo naming superfan monetization the top priority for 2026. Launched in 2024, Even says it's already onboarded over 500,000 artists across more than 3,000 labels and distributors in 110 countries, while reporting the sales to Luminate for Billboard chart eligibility. You know, the deal reflects a larger industry shift where direct-to-consumer channels are becoming central to release strategy. In the U.S. alone, D2C accounted for a majority of first-week physical album sales across multiple genres.
So, I don't know if y'all listen to Joe Budden or whatever, but maybe I think it was like 2 years ago, or something like that. He and another individual on that show was talking about, I think it was Parks, was talking about basically how, damn it, my mind just went blank. Basically, they were talking about how the concert, basically going to a concert was going to be for the rich, and basically owning music is going to be like a luxury. And honestly, that's kind of what this is. So like owning some of your favorite artists' music, that's a luxury. That's no longer going to be a necessity.
DC accounted for the majority of first week sales. Rewind this channel and how much content we were tripling, quadrupling down on about 4 years ago, about what was to come up. And now it's light bulb. It's actually generating income for people because people still see value in music, even though they wanted us convinced, especially when when companies like a UMG were on board to see independent artists out there that weren't getting at least 1,000 streams annually on a song or a particular, skit or whatever the case may be. They were on board to see them not get paid if they didn't reach that threshold. The conversation now being their emphasis
because those they were using them as test subjects, basically. That's how I see it.
On not only direct to consumer, but being on anything that services independent artists shows you they see where the money is at. And it's unfortunately that the people that the money is getting ready to come from don't recognize that they are at where it's at. Instead, they're choosing to join middlemen of middlemen.
The bottom line is UMG is building a global,
because of the name brand of the what's the name. We all know how people love name brands of things.
Superfan infrastructure designed to let artists own fan relationships, drive higher margin sales, and create a deeper engagement beyond traditional streaming platforms. And it feels so indie.
When I first saw it, I said, okay, well, if this is a situation where this is a financial play because it's a multi-year deal, what this will do is give some opportunity for, I guess, the artists that are already engaging with Even to deal with Even with maybe a more expanded staff. Maybe there'll be more tools that they have access to because of this particular relationship. But then I thought about why so many artists chose to go direct to consumer in the last 3 to 4 years. It's a very different reason than maybe direct to consumer in 2010, 2008, 2007. For many of us, it was to exit the traditional
Right.
systems, the traditional ways that they were trying to pay out because it was so little,
'cause y'all
so
was getting
far and
penny-
few
yeah,
between, 3
pennies
to
on the
6
dollar.
month payments you were getting from streaming. It was to get away from the traditional system. This was the appeal of websites like an Even, who were presenting, here you can incentivize your fans to buy from you by using this particular website that is developed into an app. And this is not that. While they're over there fighting for 0.003 in terms of per stream, fractions of a penny, you can be over here generating income and establishing yourself as a true independent. Seeing them in bed with these people damn near turns my stomach. So I wasn't the only one that had this conversation. So there's a more Rice that says, explain to me how Even, a business structure that directly contradicts the label business's model, can partner with the label. I'm really asking for an explanation because I don't get it. This gentleman here, who was making a lot of sense, said, doesn't really contradict it. If anything, Even posed a threat. Labels have been touting their superfan strategy for months. This allows them to make money from the biggest fans before releasing to the masses. Not every fan will pay for an Even pre-release. Those who do are extra.
I mean, if you paid attention, I mean, rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle had the $100 album. Then basically, I guess or after that, we had Tory Lanez. I think it was like 2020 or whatever. When he had Quarantine Radio popping off, and literally like he did literally D2C, direct to consumer, where he sold an NFT album for, I think it started off at like $1 or like something like that, like $50, $15 or something like that, in Ethereum. And then basically like each one of those albums was reselling for shit tons of money. And then I think the newest one, that person that did that, was J. Cole with his newest album, The Fall Off. And literally he sold it for $1, or I think it was on his website, it was pay what you can or something like that. And basically he sold it like that. And then, you know what I mean? So
But isn't this cutting Universal a slice of pie that was previously going directly to artists? Well, if an artist was signed to UMG, UMG could have released restrictions barring artists from releasing on Even without UMG's permission. We talked about that earlier. Or UMG was getting a cut anyway under the terms of their contract. Even's logic is this expands the number of artists that can use Even. I do see another benefit in that if you're partnered with a UMG, and you have artists that are over there with the visibility and the machine of being backed by UMG, and they have a fan base, and you condition that fan base to be used to the idea of paying for physical music, paying for these direct-to-consumer products, digital albums,
Instead of going
that
straight
could be
to-
good for the entire ecosystem. That's what you can argue. But there's some counter arguments to go against that as well. It says that even as partnered with other music distributors, UMG's logic is
Instead
this
of going
adds
straight
an
to,
extra revenue
streaming
stream for them
platforms.
and their artists. Artists that don't want to sign to UMG can still use Even. Artists that already signed to UMG were likely already sharing Even revenue with UMG. Even is playing it smart by not positioning themselves as a replacement for Spotify or the majors, even though for some of us that was the case. Going down that route is rough. The major controls 70% of recorded music revenues and are looking for opportunities that will increase that market share. In sum, I don't know the terms of Even's deal with UMG, none of us do, but it doesn't appear that UMG has taken equity yet. Even is likely looking for an exit, so I wouldn't be surprised if UMG, another major, or a large music co-acquired them down the line. That was the concern that I had.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
It starts as a partnership. Along these partnerships, whoever has more leverage is able to ask for certain things. When, say, the imaginary scenario happens where Even needs UMG to do a favor, there's a favor that is expected of UMG. What I'd be concerned about if I'm an artist currently using Even right now is that it's the same concern that I had when I was on Even and why I eventually never went back to Even. When you're giving these platforms your all-important data, your customers that you drove the traffic to their website. They're not giving you new direct-to-consumer customers. I mean, you could make an argument that some of that traffic comes from the front page, but if you yourself are bringing your audience and saying, go to this Even link, same thing for Spotify, go to this link. What happens if down the line, God forbid, they decide to sell all the way off to a UMG and now UMG controls that data?
Somebody gonna have to
And
tell
that's
the
a
truth.
lot of
It
money.
starts as partnerships like this, and this is why you have to just watch. Because I think about how powerful a UMG is. If UMG could bring a Spotify down to their knees, Spotify at one point in time attempted to try to make, they weren't making income. They weren't making profit, I should say. They were making income, not profit. They weren't making profit. And so what did they do? They tried to make their own original music, kind of like their own label. The UMGs of the world threatened to sue their ass off to the point where they wouldn't have a business anymore. That's the same gangsters now that have partnered with an Even. So I see this and I'm sure there's so much context that we can't get as civilians out here. But if you are an artist, why are you sending that traffic anywhere except for your website? Why don't you have a website?
Bingo.
That's always been my argument. For further explanation, I'll always love how simplistic my guy Brian Z breaks these things down. He says UMG is a business and businesses continually look for new ways to make money. Even as a platform that allows artists to sell their music direct to consumer, their partnership enables UMG artists to sell their music on Even, generating additional revenue. That's it. UMG, of all people, don't need a company to go direct to consumer. So what are they buying? It seems like they're buying a name brand. They're buying something that has had a lot of value put towards it. A lot of artists have stood by it. A lot of influential artists have stood by it. They're buying a brand, but they could have done this themselves. That's the part about it that I'm looking at it. I'm like, they have the money. They have the legal department. They have everything that they need to do it. There is another strategy at hand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but why would you want to start from the ground up when there's a company that already built the infrastructure and you can just, you know what I mean, weasel. I'm not saying they're weaseling their way in there, but like move your way in, you know what I mean, and give them a little bit of bread, take you know what I mean, learn from them, and then later on you can do it again. Well, you can gain more of the company. And you know,
My spotty senses is just
business.
tingling like crazy, especially when I saw this, right? So this gentleman asked a very simple question. He said, hey, Brian, I understand yes or no questions are a bit limiting and annoying, but genuinely curious if you are willing to answer this either yes or no. Is this deal good for actual independent artists? Unfortunately, he didn't get a yes or no. He said, Brian Z said, you're right. It'd be too limiting to answer yes or no. I believe this type of partnership can exist in tandem with the platform that remains independent minded. It's not a yes or no.
Yeah.
It can exist in tandem is what he said.
But
I say this because at AudioMac, which he's the founder, we've interviewed him, we work with UMG and hundreds of independents. Yeah, let's talk about this. DIYers, real quick reminder. If you enjoy these reactions and you want to go a little bit deeper, we got a private Patreon community where replays of the live streams that you won't #RR. So I started to put this together based upon, like I said, videos that I've had that have already kind of gone over these details, but I want to break this down. Let's talk about, first of all, the possible upside of this. So this validates direct-to-consumer as a revenue lane, something that we've been saying already, that if people are willing to pay $10 for an album and it takes you, 300 something, however the equivalent of it is, to actually get that in streams, and then you got to wait 3 to 6 months, this validates it as a direct-to-consumer revenue lane. When UMG co-signs a direct-to-consumer model, it signals to the entire industry that direct-to-fan sales are a legitimate and growing revenue stream. Cool. This forces platform innovation. Competition from a UMG-backed platform like Even could push other tools such as Bandcamp to innovate, giving all artists better options. Hey, that sounds amazing.
interesting.
I would love to see, as much as Bandcamp has something that's not It's not broken, but it could always use some improvement. I would love to see that pressure make them want to do something, more innovative. Plug and play for label services. Major label artists without their own audience data get a turnkey direct-to-consumer solution, including merch and vinyl through UMG's global infrastructure. Cool.
See, but with them being in bed with with them being in bed with like UMG and stuff like that, UMG would get part of that part of the merch. So I think it was a couple years ago. I know Travis Scott did it, Taylor Swift or whatever. Beyonce did it where like they had their merch combined with their, like, if you buy the CD, whatever, you get a thing of merch also. So like, I don't know. That's interesting.
Conditions fans to buy again. I mentioned that earlier. Pushing millions of fans through even normalizes the habit of purchasing music directly from artists, a cultural shift that benefits everyone, including independents. But let's hold off. Here's some of the downsides or potential downsides of this. Direct-to-consumer was built to cut out gatekeepers. Everybody that you hear about that is the direct-to-consumer success, especially in our culture, whether it's the Princes of the world, the Ryan Leslies, the Nipsey Hussles, these were created as an escape from the gatekeepers. Now UMG is embedding themselves into the pipeline, defeating the entire process of going direct. Young Dolph is another one of those. It creates a false dependency. If even becomes the standard for direct-to-consumer, newer indie artists may default to it, not realizing you can do the same thing with email, text, and a Shopify page.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Wait till I get to my analogies, because I know this is going to be a lot of data for a lot of artists, but hang with me. UMG gets your super fan data. This is the one that makes me the most nervous, especially when you see how gun-ho UMG has been about AI and how AI is able to process all this data and do what it wants with that data. I get nervous about that. UMG now accesses super fan purchasing behavior. Now they have access to the people that still believe music is worth buying, and they get to do things with that information.
Easier targeting.
That data is incredibly valuable, and artists may not realize that they're giving it up. Even says Billboard reporting as bait. So they said even report sales to Luminate for chart eligibility, a carrot to pull artists into the platform, even if they already have their own channels. The buying habit stays in their ecosystem. Here's the other part of that. So as much as it may condition fans to now say, hey, direct to consumer, that's such a normal thing that my 15-year-old sister knows about this. Here's the other side of this. The buying habit stays inside of the UMG ecosystem and even ecosystem.
Yep.
Fans learn to buy again. But inside a UMG controlled platform, independents don't inherit that behavior. The crowd grows, but UMG owns the doors.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Me no likey. It feels like the same play that we've always seen when it comes to being an independent. You are used for the value. You are used for the leverage. And then once it's time to sell off, damn, if you don't want to be a part of this, this is where the company is going.
That does not matter.
Let's continue this off. So if you have not heard, UMG has been doing an indie takeover over the last 3 years, maybe even further than that. So even isn't an isolated deal. Over the last 3 years, UMG has systematically acquired or partnered with platforms that were built to serve independent artists. Even as just the latest of that. Absorbing the very infrastructures independents created to stay independent. Bitch, we don't want you in our shit. Now they are buying the shit. One of those acquisitions for $777 million, I believe, was Downtown Music Holdings, parent company of CD Baby, Fuga, Song Trust, and Curve, which served 4 million independent creators across 145 countries.
Oh,
Jesus. Wow. They got a full acquisition of PIAS Label Group, independent label group and distribution for 100 plus indie labels, including Beggars Group, Secretly Group, Mute, and Transgressive. This is just a few of them, by the way. They have a strategic partnership in platforms like BandLabs, which are very different from acquisitions. Stationhead, we talked about. Udio, which they were suing before because of their AI usage. And Stability AI,
Ironic.
music creation tools, superfan platforms, and AI companies, all originally built for or by independent and creators. So that includes those of you that are making AI music that feel like you're somehow independent in the midst of this. No, you too are a part of said system. They even bought majority stake, that being UMG, in Nigeria's leading Afrobeats label, home to Rema, Ira Star, Ladipo, founded by Don Jazzy, Mavin Global. Yeah, so they've been very, very aggressive. Very aggressive. So here's the pattern, and I want y'all to identify this with any of these platforms that you see, because I'm leaving this up to you to have your own opinion by. Here's the pattern. Same shit happened with SoundCloud. Platforms pitch themselves to independent artists. They use your monthly subscriptions. They do all of this. They grow using indie creators as their user base. Then they partner with or sell to UMG or an entity of that size. The same system those artists were trying to avoid.
True.
Independent trade organizations like Impala have warned this strategy is reducing the number of truly independent routes to market for artists. So here's some analogies. For those of you that are like, Curtis, I am so confused about all this information. Let me put this into a few analogies. Why would an independent artist use even or any kind of platform that is telling you they're going to help you go direct to consumer, even though it can't be more direct than you going direct to your consumer?
Oh, very true.
You hear what I said? If you already own the relationship, that's like owning the house but paying rent to sleep in your own bed. That's like having a full contact list but paying someone else to press send. Having an account on Even right now with all of this shit that you're seeing that got you scratching your head, that's like a barber with a full chair giving somebody else half the cut when the shop, the clippers, and the clients were already his. You already have the fans. That's like building the stage, grabbing the mic, drawing the crowd, then letting somebody else charge you a ticket to perform. Bitch.
Gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Having an account with an Even or a platform like this, which is your prerogative because it may take off some of the stress of having to create your own website, which I have free videos on how to do that, by the way. It's like driving your own car but paying for an Uber to ride shotgun. Jesus. That's like having the keys to the building but knocking on the door and asking to be let in.
But we also got to take consideration that people these days do not, like I said before, like they want the convenience of things. Like a lot of people, bro, we live in the greatest time to ever be alive. You know, I know things are bad, but bro, you could change your life with this. Like, we have phones in our pockets. We have many computers in our pockets. We got cameras, video cameras, good. Well, a lot of them are good, like quality and everything else, that you can literally change your life in like 6 months to a year by just like focusing on something. And then we have ChatGPT, Gemini, and all these LLM, large language models, and all it takes is time, dedication, and literally a plan, and you could be good.
It's called direct to consumer. And I get people gonna always love the name brand. I get it. I saw this as a comment on that Music Business Worldwide page, and I wanted to highlight it because I think it brings up another important point. Superfan business does sound nice because of the income and et cetera. This person, Joel Periso, he said, superfan business sounds nice except the record labels have zero history with the fans.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Zero. Because their business has been of streaming. Their business has been of all the other different elements that they are generating income. It has not been superfan business. This is why they would probably see a benefit in partnering with somebody who has a direct connection to these folks. Superfan business sounds nice, except the record labels have zero history with the fans. Zero. As do the companies they are purchasing, because those companies don't have a business if the artists don't have super fans. These companies don't have a business if the artists don't
a
have
fact.
super fans. Come on now. Come on now.
Just look at Patreon. You know what I mean? Like Patreon, I think X does it now. Well, formerly known as Twitter. X does it now. Facebook does it. All these other little platforms have it. So like super fans, like hey, what was it TikTok? TikTok has it.
Boy, oh boy. Let's get to the bottom line of this one. And
I don't
there's
know if
one last thing
Instagram
that
has
needs
it.
to be mentioned, especially for those of you that are still
think they
using
do,
the
I'm not
Even
sure.
platform, because you already know, and maybe I need to give more details of it. You already know I had a rollout with them that had its pros, had a whole lot of cons. But I see this and I think about my independent artists, and I owe my allegiance to independent artists more so than any platform or company that I've ever worked with. Peep this out. The independent artist bottom line. Platforms built for independence keep ending up in the hands of the machine. Those artists were trying to escape. You own the email list.
Mm-hmm.
You own the phone number.
Yep.
You own the relationship.
Yep.
Don't hand that power to a middleman wearing a direct-to-consumer costume.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I just
Especially
got a picture.
one with a history of acquiring every exit door you try to walk through. One more time.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I know independence is challenging. It's supposed to be. I know small businesses is a challenge, and most small businesses fail. We are counted as part of those small businesses. So when somebody comes along offering you what seems to be a bit of relief, you want to take it. But you gotta be understanding of what those terms of service have. You must be understanding of what you are letting go. And if you plan on having a business that lasts longer than 10 years, 20 years, you're going to at some point have to really establish this as a business that is independent of the dependence of these type of websites that are giving away whatever they want to the highest bidder. Because who the hell knows what part of that deal? We don't have the details of that deal, but you signed up regardless. Don't hand that power to a middleman wearing a direct-to-consumer costume, especially one with a history of acquiring every exit door you try to walk through. This is what you call a hostile takeover. Anybody can read it as such. The thing with independence is this: there is no one size fits all. God bless a Russ and his strategy of releasing a song every single week. That worked for him. But I guarantee you'll find somebody out here who has a very different strategy, and it worked for them.
Yep.
It is your job, just like any other business, to figure out what works for you and your customers, how to attain your customers. That's why when they started pitching, I knew this was from the other side when people were telling you, you can't go direct to consumer because you need a fan base first. Everybody needs customers when they start their business. What they were doing when they were saying that was trying to get you to fuck out the way. They wanted to get to this before you did. They wanted to establish their stake in the ground and then charge you for the service. You see the play now? There were all these voices when I was making these videos that were talking about, oh, you're not ready for direct to consumer. You're not ready. Now it's about to be as mainstream as it's ever been. They just had to wait to get in position to charge you the right price. You don't need someone to get in the middle of you and your fans if you want to go direct to consumer. If you got people that want to pay for your music, let them pay for your music. Because you don't know what's going on with some of these companies. Right on time. Don't know if you saw this, but shout out to my DIY community who brought this to my attention. Jesus Christ. In the middle of this deal, which would otherwise be seen as pretty head scratching, this popped up. Industry executive and former Even Director of Business Development Damian D. Washington has filed an explosive federal lawsuit against Even Labs and CEO Enrique Mag Rodriguez. Former employee or former partner Washington alleges race and gender discrimination, retaliation, unpaid overtime, breach of contract, and intentional misclassification as a contractor despite working full-time, generating substantial revenue and developing major partnerships for the company. These are all obviously just you keeping everything alleged because this is something that just got filed. Even though there was a conversation I saw that D Dot has started up on his Instagram in October. He claims he was denied a promised promotion, stripped of commissions, excluded from press credit, and ultimately fired after raising concerns about unlawful business practices, including potential copyright violations and unethical business deals. Washington's complaint details being asked to facilitate personal interests unrelated to work, threatened with unsafe actions, and repeatedly excluded from key meetings and client relationships, all while working 70 plus hours per week.
Oh, shit.
Washington is seeking back pay, unpaid overtime, lost commissions, damages, and a jury trial. I don't know nothing about this situation on a personal end. All I can say is my mama used to always say you got to see how somebody treats their employees, and it'll give you a good idea how they'll treat you as a partner.
Yep. Good business.
If I am an artist that is independent, and I mean not up and coming, let's separate the difference. If you are an artist that is currently generating income, what I'm getting ready to say is for you and for you only. If you are just barely, you haven't even sold one thing of what you're doing, sit this conversation out because you go with the win. You go with whatever brand, whatever situates you perfectly, okay? You got a lot more work to do. I'm truly talking to my independent peers here. You see what's going on here. You've seen this before. I had a situation with even that guy. I was so excited when I joined them because to me, this represented a very different direction after doing a multitude of videos that was against the things that I saw with Spotify, the things that I saw with streaming, the things that I saw as obviously disrespectful, obviously not trying to truly support the working musician. We have been an advocate and a strong voice for said community. And when we see something, we call it out. To see something like it even appearing, I was one of them people that was on the waiting list wanting to go see what this was all about. And then I finally saw it. And when I started to focus on the positive things, I overlooked some things where I was like, okay, whatever, that happens. But as it started to unfold and as I started to get closer to having these conversations with certain people there, I had a lot of head scratching moments that left me in a situation where I didn't know what was going on with my own release 2 days before it happened. Now, I must give you this added caveat. This is when they were still in their earlier stages, and it was kind of a beta version of what was going on. I didn't like the way that things happened, the way that they happened. I moved away. I said, you know what? I want to remove my music off of the platform, but I still want my customer data. I took my customer data and I moved on and put it on Bandcamp and eventually put it on my website, which is the most important thing. Then after some back and forth and trying to get on the same page, you know, shout out to my guy, LaRussell. He tried to mediate some of these things. One of y'all asked me during a live stream, and Courtney can attest to this. One of y'all
Somebody
asked
was
me,
like, "Oh, that's a burger?"
Yo, what was the last numbers on your project that you did release with them? I went to go check it, and all my fucking data was gone.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
All my data was gone. All my customer data that I generated from all that traffic, all my stats, disappeared. Now, I went public about this, and then I started to receive text messages from higher ups and whatnot. And I'm leaving these names out of there because they know who they are. So they're getting these text messages about,
He's being respectful.
there was a changeover of the website. Yes, there was a changeover of the website. It went from one version to another version. But I looked at that and I said, that seems very convenient because I didn't see anybody else that was complaining about it. Maybe it did happen to some people. I complained about it, and then all of a sudden my numbers came back. Like within 24 hours. Okay. I saw that, and my gut instinct said, "Is this petty? Could this be?" Nah, that ain't that.
Yeah.
Long story short,
They playing
I
with
have attempted to be on the same page with the company. I've attempted to even talk about some benefits it could be for independence. Here's where I'm left with this now. I want no parts of it. Get it off of me. I wish my guy LaRussell all the best because he has equity in this company. I wish them all the best. I don't want any of that on anything that we talking about independent, because can we truly be independent With any entity that gets that close to a UMG, that represents that old guard, that could be great for those artists that are signed. God bless them. We got to take care of us. Because there's been so many times where we're used as pieces on a chessboard only to not be brought in for any kind of decision making when things get spicy like this. Because I have to wonder if they're just a client of an Even, do they not have the power to use up the resources that Even has to provide?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm
That's what I
gonna
was
tell
thinking.
If they're just a partner and there's no equity, if they're just a partner, do they not have some say-so in terms of priority over somebody else's independent release, especially if you're not partnered up with them? If you just Joe Schmo who just signed up, do you not have priority if you are over there with the multi-year deal? So once again, I question a lot about that. The optics on it, at least, the very least. This federal lawsuit is very eye-opening. But I mostly detach myself from that, tell you my experience, and say this. If you want to be independent, go be independent. Stop relying upon these middlemen between you and your customers, and protect your customer data. Your customer data is so important that Spotify won't give it to you. Your customer data is so important, your emails, the text messages, that Spotify won't give it to you. They won't even give you the emails. Protect your data. Understand that even with a Bandcamp to a certain degree, you got to read through those terms of service. You're granting access to some of these websites that are starting to use AI as a part of their ingredients. I don't like it. I don't like it. And there's nothing anybody can explain to me to make me like it. It just reminds me, I take it as a blessing. It reminds me, focusing on your website, focusing on really building your own music business, because this shit, yeah, that's up to you. That's on you. DIYers, those are my thoughts on that particular situation.
And also, if they're partnered up with them, if like you said, if you are an artist or whatever, and let's just say you got like a fire, some good music or whatever, what's it to say that, you know what I mean, they can't maybe, let's just say, block that song from getting big, and then probably give it to somebody else. And I don't know. All I know is, yo, shout out to this dude, bro. I appreciate his thoughts on this, and letting me know what this was, because I didn't know what this was at first. I've never even heard of that company. But hey, do what's best for you as an artist of music or whatever you want to do. Hey, do what's best for you. Okay with if you are okay with it being if I can't speak, if you're okay with working with this or with those companies and not being independent because you don't want to do all the heavy lifting, cool. But if you don't mind being independent and going through all those little bumps and bruises, do that too. Yo, it's plenty of people that you can look at that have done it and are living good off of it. Just look at the legend Tech Nine. That's all I'm gonna say. But love each and every last one of y'all, man. I catch you on the next one. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, tell a friend and tell a friend. Like I said before, the link for this video the full video will be in the description below. The original video. Love each and every last one of y'all. On to the next transmission, man. Peace.